Welcome to this week's Thursday Cosmic Conversation. I am Stacy Harder with my mother, Dr. Heather Harder. This is invited to be a participatory event, and I have something in my eyeball, so I have a little weirdness happening, but that's okay. We'll get through it. I just want to make sure everything's working. We're live. Perfect. So we are actually officially together on Zoom, which you may be showing us from lovely Instagram, hello, or YouTube. Again, welcome. There is a lot going on in the world, and my hope is to make this call make your life better and more informed and more energized and more empowered than when we started. So I'm going to introduce Heather to come on in, and she will lead us the way.
Am I ready to start talking now? Okay. Well, welcome to our lovely in-person group on Zoom, our face-to-face group, as well as the people in the ethers on Instagram and YouTube. Facebook has decided that we were not able to go live on Facebook, so that's something we'll adjust to. Each week we talk about whatever comes up. You're welcome to introduce conversational topics. You're welcome to ask questions. I do like it to be a participatory experience. I spent many years in the classroom lecturing. I don't like it, so I don't want to lecture. I want to have a fun little conversation among friends. This week, as the world knows, America's been in the spotlight because of their elections and lots of things going on. We also went through a tremendous energy shift yesterday, and so people are still experiencing the aftermath of that. And so we'll be incorporating those kinds of experiences today. We always start our gatherings with a intention, a affirmation in order to call in truth. There is so much misinformation going on the planet now, both intentionally and unintentionally, but we don't want to be fooled by either. We want to recognize, feel, perceive, and integrate truth. And then, as always, we ask for divine guidance and divine protection. There's a million ways to do that. I sometimes do affirmations, but just setting the intention, putting it out there, telling the universe we want truth, guidance, and protection is all that's needed. So tonight, that's what we'll do. The second thing is because everybody who's attracted to these calls are here to make a difference on the planet. In my book, Many Were Called, I call them the Earth-based volunteers. We're sort of the Universal Peace Corps group. And now they're known throughout the world as light workers. And so in honor of our role as light workers, we play with the light. We do some light work on the call. Light, love, God all carry the same vibration. And so whether you're talking about God's blessing or whether you're talking about light or love or whatever, you're playing with that same energy force. As we know, everything on the planet is energy, and light is the highest form of energy. The higher your vibration, the higher the light energy you can bring in. And so the more we play with this light energy, the more we raise our vibration and can access even higher levels of light energy. At one point in time, we had lovely little darkness on the planet. When the sun went down, we all went to bed. When the sun came up, we all got up. Then we discovered fire, and we had an artificial light that we could stay around the fire and tell stories and roast marshmallows. And then as we got smarter, we developed kerosene lamps and candles, and we had then a means of having light when we chose to have light. And then along came our electric light bulb, and we had light at the flip of a switch anywhere, anytime, anyhow. Even inside the pyramids. You flip a switch and the lights come on inside the pyramid. And it is kind of an amazing experience. And what we discovered with that light is that as we learn to manipulate light, we can focus it into a laser. It's just concentrated light, focused light, intentional light. And with that, we can cut down a mountain. We can take a plane out of the air. We can remove a cataract off the eyes. It's just focused light. Well, as we begin to understand and use light for a divine purpose, we have that same kind of power. It is not reserved for a few. It's for anyone who wants it, anyone who chooses to use it. Love, light, God, all are here at your disposal. You are a divine being, and you have the right to use it, to call on it, to manipulate it for the highest good whenever you want. Whenever we send light, whenever we send love, it is unconditional, which means no strings, no outcome. We simply send love and it does its magic. If you send love for a purpose, in order to fix someone, in order to heal someone, in order to do something, that's conditional light, and that brings a karmic consequence. So we never ever put an outcome to it. If I give you $100 for your birthday and tell you to enjoy it, it's an unconditional gift. You can spend the money any way you want. But if I say, here's $100, buy school clothes for your birthday, then that's conditional. I'm telling you how to use it. In the cosmic sense of things, to manipulate light for your own desires is a manipulation, a violation of free will, even if we think we're doing a good job for them. Aunt Bertha's sick, we send her light to get her well. Unless Aunt Bertha has asked for us to send light to her to help her get well, it's not our business. We only send light and love to her higher self. She will consciously use the light and love as she chooses. So you never ever put a outcome to the light and love. Back in 93, I was given this exercise to do for the planet. I've seen it work miracles in a million different ways. It's how we start. And then, of course, because of all things going on the planet, we continually expand and send it to other sources in other ways. It's an intention to add more light, more love to the planet. And then we let the planet decide how it's going to be used and what will happen with it. It's not our business. We're only giving unconditionally. And then because of universal law, it says whatever you send out must come back. And so as you send this light and love out, it will come back to you. So you always want to be open to receive that as well, because in giving, you receive. And it's a very powerful gift. And I always feel so much lighter and more buoyant because of it. So with that, if you want to just make yourself comfortable, and as a light worker of the planet, we're here to impact the planet, not to determine its destiny, but to support divine will, what I call the divine plan, in order to make it manifest with greater ease. I close my eyes just because it's easier for me to block out everything, but eyes are not magic. You can have them open or closed, whatever you want. And so with that, just see yourself as a light. Your true nature is pure energy, pure love. So just feel that and see your light combined with everyone else on the planet who are here to serve the planet. Just feel that energy unify and become one. And with that intention, we're going to go to center, what we call our happy place, our place of union. It's an imaginary place. You can make it look like anything. I prefer beaches, so I make mine look like a beach, but it can be anything or nothing. It is an intention. But in that place of center, you are most connected to your divine sources, to your divine helpers, to the earth energy, and to the heavenly energy. You are here to help anchor heaven to earth. And then we're going to invite in all beings at every level of existence to join us in this love and light. And feel this love and light grow and amplify and magnify to one huge, huge supply of love and light. There's never a limit. And then when you're ready, just see this love and light going into the earth, going on the earth, going around the earth. So we fill every cell in, on, and around her with this love. And every living creature, even the ones we don't recognize as living, we're going to send love and light to them, through them, around them. And we see that love and light amplified and magnified, and we send it out into the atmosphere. The atmosphere is to the earth as our skin is to our body. It's a very important protective layer. And we're just going to send love and light to it, through it, and see the earth surrounded with this blanket of love. And then around the planet, there's places of war and hate and violence. There's places of discord and all the isms that exist. Just see those places filled with love, and all the people playing in those energies filled with love. And then around the planet, there are those who are using Earth and humanity for its own accord, manipulating, confusing, challenging. We're going to just imagine those people and send them love as well. All beings who are manipulating the atmosphere, manipulating the planet, even manipulating the weather patterns, we're just going to love them. And imagine the weather patterns. The weather patterns are a very important stabilizing factor for the earth. It's how the earth clears the energy. And we're just going to love all the weather patterns around the planet. The mass consciousness is the place where all thoughts, action, deeds of everyone who's ever been on this planet, ever will be on this planet, or on the planet now resides. It's a collective consciousness. And what we're going to do is just imagine that combined energy, and we're just going to love it. I see it like a pool. And I just fill that pool with love, with light. And then I'm going to send love and light to all those on the planet who are suffering, who are in pain, who are in control or manipulation, who are being controlled or manipulated, either consciously or unconsciously. And all those who are working on their own personal agenda, we're just going to love them. So just feel this love go out to all of those. Both what we would see as the victims and the perpetrators. But in truth, they're only just players. We are participating in the greatest drama that has ever blessed this planet. We're not meant to be an observer. We are active participants in this drama. And we're just going to love our part and love the drama. And on this planet, we have lots of leaders, people who are influencing others for various reasons, sometimes for their own agenda, some for the greatest good. But we're going to just love all the influencers. All those in social media who impact and influence, we're just going to love them. All those in social media who are being influenced, just going to love them. All the organizations and businesses and the leaders in them that are impacting not only this country, but the world, we're going to love them. When we love them, we put such a high energy in and around them. And then, of course, all of our political leaders, whether they are elected, appointed, or self-chosen, we're just going to love them, whether they are local or state or national, whether they're in this country or any country. Just love them. And then we're going to imagine all the candidates for our US election. Those that won, those that lost, and those that are still in the air. We're just going to love all those candidates and all the ballots and all the people who counted or manipulated or created the ballots. We're just going to love all the ballots. See those ballots glowing with love. And all those who might have supported an honest election and those that manipulated for not such an honest election. We're just going to love them all. And now in this election, we're having things go to the courts. So imagine all the courtrooms at every level that is now involved in our electoral process. Imagine all those who have been appointed to go to electoral college. Love them. The higher vibration you put into place, the more challenging it is to be less than integral, less than honest. We're just simply sending love and light. And we're going to see all of this play out in divine, perfect timing and divine, perfect way. There is a incredible divine plan at work. Unfortunately, I wasn't given a copy to read, but this has all been predetermined in order to awaken this planet to its greatest destiny. And see this divine, perfect plan being manifest. See divine will being manifest. See anything and anyone who's interfering with divine plan be made apparent. Their actions made transparent. And for me, and you can determine if it's for you, I want to know my role in this grand drama, and I want to be able to be very clear on the action I'm to take and recognize the support I have to do my part. If that's your intention, then you can say it for yourself. And then we give permission to the angels to continue to use this light and love in any way that supports this planet and its people. To continue to use this love and light that we've generated to support anyone and everyone who needs it or wants it. And if you have people in your life who may need an extra dose of love and light right now, just in your head, name them, send it, direct it to them. And that includes yourself. See yourself being bathed in its love and light. See this love and light washing away all of your limitations, all of your karmic debt, all of your struggles. This life was meant to be easy and fun. We go through challenges to build character, to give us unique experiences. But we've done that. Now let's live a life of ease. And right now on this planet, we're still being impacted by this little cosmic cootie called the COVID. So just imagine this COVID virus. You've seen, I'm sure, lots of images of it. Just imagine what it looks like. And all over the planet, every COVID virus just surrounded with love, surrounded with light. And everyone who works with it, who's impacted by it, who is manipulating it for their own accord, anyone and everyone that's being affected by this COVID, we're just going to love them. Right now, COVID is our teacher. It's our alarm clock. And we're just going to love that little bugger. And then recognize divine law says whatever you send out, you must experience. It must come back to you. So if you will, just imagine opening up your heart, opening up every cell of your body to receive this love. And feel how it feels as it comes into your body, through your breath, through your intentions, through your energy. Just breathe it in and let every cell of your body be impacted by this love and light. No matter what the issue, love is the answer. No matter what the problem, love is the solution. Not in the huggy kissy kind of way, but in the energetic way. Love balances. Love heals and restores. Love brings in wisdom and courage. Love connects you to your divinity. Love is the most amazing magic potion that there is. So just let your body, let your cells, let your consciousness fill with love. And know that you're always connected to the source. You're always available for more. You're always available to send it out to anyone and everyone who needs it. You are part of this divine flow. And we're just going to pause for a minute and see if there's any divine messages, divine awarenesses meant for you. So just open up your consciousness and see what's brought to you. Both sending and receiving love is a selfless act. It's as good for everyone as it's good for anyone. The more you use love in any way, the more the more you serve the divine. And with that, when you're ready, just come back to the here and now. Just open yourself to come back. You should feel a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more serene, a little bit more grounded. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your nose. Just stretch and come back. So that's our fun energy work. That assignment is done now. Anybody have any questions? Stacy, we had a person who asked questions through the week, and I said that I would answer those questions. Did you write those questions down?
I don't know what we're talking about, so go in the middle.
I can't. Oh, here. It's on this thing. I took a picture of it.
Where was the person who asked?
I don't know. But if anybody has questions, they're welcome to ask. If there's anybody who has issues they want to ask, please do so as I search for the questions.
Alicia, I feel like you have a question. Jennifer? Carrie, I see smiles. Dwayne? Okay, I'll ask. So what was your interpretation of the energy that came in yesterday? Because I definitely, obviously there's been a lot of feelings for me the past week.
I don't have interpretations. I just have sensations. And for me, the energy was incredibly powerful. But the most powerful energy for me doesn't have me acting out. I go within. It's like I just curl up. I don't know if you've ever seen those resurrection plants, but they're like dried up little crunchy balls, and then you put them in water and they open up and spread out. And then when they dry up again, they just crunchy balls again. You ever seen those resurrection plants? Am I the only one that knows what they look like? Anyway, that's how I feel when the energy is very intense. It's like everything about me pulls in, and the energy is used in other spheres, but it's very intense. And yesterday was very intense for me.
So, but when you say intense, do you think it was about shifting? Do you think it was positive? What kind of energy were you?
All right. Every question you're asking is a mental question. And I don't play that. I just accept it for what it is. I don't have to gauge it or judge it or measure it or interpret it. I just am in it, and I respond according to how I feel in that moment. Feeling versus mental. Feeling is heart, mental is mind. The old us wanted to understand everything. It wanted to measure it, wanted to label it, wanted to define. I don't need to do that anymore, so I don't even go for it. If I'm told something about it, I do, but otherwise I just follow my response to it. Which for me, the response was, it was just sort of sitting in a chair, being very internal, just really being very, it's almost protecting that energy. So that's how I experienced it. But I didn't get any kind of definition or label, which is what you're wanting. How did you get it? How did you experience it?
I'm not going to get into it. It's fine.
Huh? Anybody else want to share how they were affected by the energy? Being able to recognize the energy shift is very important. Being able to respond according to however you're feeling about it without apologies or judgment. Some people get very lethargic and they go, oh, I should be doing something, and I should be doing the dishes, or I should be cleaning up, rather than just being where they are. And other people get very energized with the same energy, because it's our metabolism adjusting to the different energy that's very important. And it's just being in that place.
Increase in energy is what I found. That increased hope for the future.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, the question that I have is, was it connected in any way to the date being November 11th, 11/11?
Well, according to many, there was a tremendous portal that opened up yesterday. And so that 11/11 can happen one of two ways. It can be designed by the universe, and the universe puts in place, or the collective consciousness. When someone says this is going to happen on 11/11 because 11/11 is sacred, and then everybody joins that collective agreement, and then lo and behold, it is, because that's the truth that everybody manifests. So is it the cause or is it the effect? We don't know, but there was definitely an energy yesterday. One of my first trips to Egypt, it was my first trip to Egypt, happened to be during one of those openings, but I wasn't into the spiritual stuff. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew I had to get to Egypt. Got a lightning bolt in the afternoon. That night I went and bought my ticket, was on the plane going to Egypt the next day. I get there and I have to go to the pyramids. I didn't know the pyramids closed down at 4:00, but I go to the pyramids. And so I'm literally climbing the pyramids all over the place, which is illegal. Didn't know that either. And I'm up in the top of the pyramids looking down, and there's this group of people. And what was her name? Solara. She wrote books and whatnot, and she had a group there. And so I'm watching from the top of the pyramids, looking down at this group, and they're going, and they're doing this like ritual over and over again. They're all wearing white with these little halo, like pipe cleaner halos, and they're all chanting, and they're all doing this movement. Like a line dance with a spiritual contest kind of thing, but they just do it for hours. And I'm just playing, climbing and jumping around and stuff. And when I do anything for spirit, I never know what it is going into it. After it's over is when I'm given information. So after I get home from this incredible trip from Egypt, I said, okay, what was that about? And they said that there was an energy coming in, and all these well-intentioned people who were doing the rituals and doing the whatevers were polluting it, and that I was there just to play in it, to make the energy bouffant, just sort of pump it up again, because spiritual energy isn't meant to be somber and serious. It's an incredible, for me, very, very playful energy. And she had decided that and it was maybe 100 people, it was quite a few people, just doing this circle and dance and movement and repeating this chant for hours. And apparently they were just really polluting the hell out of this energy. And I was told the energy always comes into Egypt first and it spreads throughout the planet. And that my job was to play. I thought, okay, I play for the universe. What a job description. But I didn't know anything about it until I was there, and I was looking down on it and then found out what was going on. Anybody know Solara? Know of her books? At the time, and this was, I think, 92 or 93, but it was some kind of energy harmonic thing that she was talking about. I just do what I need to do. But the more joy you can put into everything you're doing, the better off the universe is. Play and have fun. Do I not believe in portals? Oh, I definitely believe in portals. I just don't believe that everyone who says a portal's opening is accurate. That I think a lot of people create stuff through their intentions or through their misinterpretations. I just don't believe that everyone who says there's a portal is accurate. But I definitely believe there are portals. Any other? I did find the question. It says, I've been on live with Stacy, and I'm working on meditation and manifesting, but having a hard time now. I have manifested stuff in the past, but now I'm not currently working and times are tough. I have a hard time visualizing. And notice in the 2 sentences, she uses hard about 4 times. That's going to make everything that you're doing, including the manifesting, hard, because that's the concept she has in her head. It comes through her words, but she's already saying how challenging it is. And I want to ask about the shadow work. Does that have to be shadow? Would ask about shadow work. Does that have to be done to ascend to 4th and 5D? Sometimes I feel like I'm on my way there, but I'm not sure. So there's 3 or 4 different questions in there. Manifestation, the more easy, the more open, the more trusting, the more you are relaxed into it, the faster you're manifesting. It is not meant to be hard. The more you focus and work at it, the more you cut off the flow of energy. It just is a very natural process. It's about emotional energy, but it's joy. It's imagining what it's like to have it. You have to trust that it's coming to you. It's like a kid anticipating Christmas. It's a fun kind of thing. And so if you're making it hard out of desperation, I have to have this happen, or I can't pay my rent. And I mean, I certainly know what those feelings are, but that's not where you want to manifest from. Because what you do is you manifest more of that than what you're putting energy in. So instead of manifesting prosperity, you're manifesting more scarcity. So you don't want to be in that place. Shadow work, I don't like the term shadow work. I don't use the word shadow work. We're always moving through our lessons. It's why we're on this planet. We all have lessons. We all have growth opportunities. We set up our lesson plan before we come to this planet. It's not necessarily meant to be hard or painful or challenging. Some people have given themselves really big experiences, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the shadow work. You can take horseback lessons and learn horseback riding, or you can take piano lessons and learn about piano lessons, and how you view those lessons are how you're going to bring energy into that experience. Many people view the piano lessons with drudgery and repetition, and I've got to go do my piano lessons and I've got to practice so many hours a day. Whereas people who take horseback lessons usually are much more excited about it. Oh boy, I get to go do the horses and I get to go do this. But they're both growth experiences. It's the attitude you bring to the experience that can change how you perceive and process those lessons. Shadow work is just about clearing up your lessons. And if you see it as, the dark night of the soul, and the words we use to describe it are real intense and heavy, but it doesn't have to be that way. It's just looking at the lessons that you've got. When you get a college degree, you take a lot of classes. Some you enjoy more than others, but you've got to get them in order to finish up the degree. The attitude you bring to them makes all the difference in the world. That makes sense? Anybody have a question?
No, I don't mean, I would call it the dark side, dark night of the soul. And the many of the intensity and depth of those traumas and feelings. So for me, I'd be open to be like, okay, here you go. My experience is I had to really feel through things and move through things that way.
You do have to go through all the things that are holding you down. 4th and 5th dimension are vibratory station life. The more you allow your vibration to raise, like the exercise we just did is a vibratory raising of your energy, the quicker you get to 4th and 5th dimensional consciousness. But it's not like an elevator. You stop at the floor and you're there. It's going back and forth in experiences. You may be in that 5th dimension when you're doing meditation, but you may be in 3rd dimension when you're paying your bills and having to deal with the day-to-day checkbook. So it's not a continuous one experience. It's back and forth. And you can feel when you're feeling the most loving, the most kind. If you have stuff that's anchoring you down, again, using my experience from the hot air balloon, you have to let go of all those weights in order to raise to the heavens. And so if you have those experiences, you do have to let them go. How you view that is up to you. And so, and Stacey, you're calling it the dark night of your soul. Someone else may choose to just see it differently, but it's still, you do have to let go of everything that holds your energy down, that's anchoring you to the third dimension, lower vibration. So anybody else have an experience they want to share with that? Jennifer, you look like you're smiling. Okay, Dwayne, you want to share something? You're muted, so we have to unmute you. Okay, you should be.
I look at shadow work, as far as like inner child work. There's a lot of us have traumas from childhood, and the way it was, the way we were treated or handled. Let's say you get bullied coming home from school, and you get in a fight, and you come home, and you get yelled at or whatever. Let's say they're making, you gotta understand, let's say it's an 8-year-old comes home and got beat up because kids didn't like him because their dad was a cop, and they're a parent looking at that. Some parents will look at that and scold a child. Well, you should just ignore that, just walk away, or whatever. But they're not looking at it from the emotional intelligence of that child at the time. They're looking at it from an adult in emotional intelligence. So when you grow up in those kind of dynamics, in a sense, where your feelings were not validated because you were basically treated like you were a little adult, instead of embracing or appreciating that you're a child at that emotional level. When you get older, things will trigger you and you'll have a reaction to it instead of a response to it. And what I found with doing the shadow work, the inner child work, is a lot of it come in meditation, where I would go back into that feeling state at that age of how I felt, not how I feel about it now, how I felt about it as a child. And then what you do is you basically, how do you want to put it? Console that inner child in you, validate those feelings, I hope I'm making sense here.
You are.
To clear it out, you're validating that, because I think a lot of people these days, especially what we're seeing going on in the world, people freaking out, I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of those inner wounds of their fears from when they were a child, and they weren't able to process them. It's just like a little kid who, well, here's an example. This is my personal experience. My parents got divorced when I was 12, and it happened over. It was really stupid. It happened over a bottle of wine that my dad gave to a woman that he worked with, and my mom was looking for it, and I was 12 at the time, and my mom calls me downstairs, asks me where this bottle of wine was. And I don't even, I was a pretty straight-laced kid. And I said, oh, he gave that to Mrs. So-and-so at the park. We're just kids. My dad used to take us to the park on the weekends, and my mom would stay home. when he'd go to the park, he met up with this lady. Well, when I said that, all hell broke loose, and my mom was calling the police station because that's where he worked. Coming home, and your son told me this, your son told me that, and you're at that age, you're taking that as this is all my fault, and nobody came to you and said it's not your fault, but the next 2 years after that, it was just chaos, and those types of things. You have nobody, as a child, we take a lot of things personally, and we tend to think that we're the cause of stuff, and there's a lot of other stuff that's involved with it. But when you get old, I carried that for a lot of years, thinking that was my fault, and it wasn't up until about 3 years ago I was able to release it finally. It still hurts a little bit, but it was just like I let go of it. I went back into that age and looked at everything that happened, how I was feeling, and I basically reparented myself, is what it is, what it boiled down to. And
Bradshaw wrote a wonderful book telling us how to do that long before the spiritual words came into place. But that reparenting is very powerful.
Right. And one of the books that helped me get through that, I've read it probably 3 or 4 times, was Pete Walker's Complex PTSD, and another one by John Bradshaw called The Homecoming. And it's all about reparenting yourself, getting to know who you are, getting to know the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, aspects of how people react to things. And when I first started healing from a lot of this stuff was about 3 years ago, and I tell you what, it was rough. Now it's just like, it just feels like freedom. You carry all that baggage, but I guess the point I was just trying to make is, like, when you look at it, when you have these deep inner wounds, a lot of them do stem from childhood, and what we have to do to reparent ourselves is just kind of look at, let ourselves feel those feelings that we felt and how we actually felt, not what somebody projected on us how we should feel, or even our adult self. Well, we look at it with adult rational or whatever you want to call it, but you got to look at it from the emotional intelligence of that age of what you were, and it really helps with parenting too. If a person can look at their child or interact with their child with that in mind, that they're not at the same emotional intelligence, you have to go into look at it from how they would be seeing it.
And I see that as what I would label compassion. Because you were able to really connect with your own experience, it gave you compassion to help other people look at their experiences. When you were working originally with it, you were saying it was very painful and it was bringing up all those emotions. Now, when you hit those same kind of things, it's much easier.
Right.
You don't resist it. You recognize it. You say, oh, I got it. I get to release something else. And it's going to feel good as soon as you finish. And so that's, to me, why I don't see the shadow work as having to be horrible. It sometimes is, but it doesn't have to be. It can be very easy, peaceful, natural. And then I have to tell you, Dwayne, I love your voice. You sound like Rod McEwen. Do you remember Rod? He 70s. I mean, he was big in the 70s, but he wrote a lot of poetry books that he recorded with his voice. So he was probably one of the first. Yeah. But I'm sure if you go on YouTube and look up Rod McEwen with his poetry books, it's a very gravelly, beautiful kind of voice. And it was, when you heard his voice, was like stood out. And I'm sure on YouTube, if YouTube still exists, you'll be able to find Rod McEwen.
You brought up a really good point too about compassion. And when you're doing this inner work like that, it's in order to, we have compassion for other people and stuff. But if we have compassion for ourselves and patience for ourselves and focus on that when we're in when they're in this dark shadow, in the shadow work or dark night of the soul, having compassion for ourselves and giving ourselves love will help us heal through that. But also, we're coming from a place of that when we come out of that, when we're trying to help others and stuff like that. There's a lot of people, they try to help and they haven't healed that within, so they're giving from an empty vessel, and they get depleted and they run out. And you have to take time to have compassion for yourself and patience and self-love, you know.
Well, and that's why we do both sides of karma. You know, we experience and we're the victim, we're the perpetrator, because in that duality, we experience compassion. Then we meet someone who's playing in that game and we can understand it. I mean, to me, compassion is just a deeper level of understanding. And
Yep.
It's the whole reason why we're here. It's why we give ourselves these experiences, so we can understand and we can have compassion.
Yeah.
And there are lots of YouTube clips on Rod McEwen. So
Okay.
Someone put
McKeun, and he's got all kinds of.
If I hear
but he was very famous.
yeah,
I had several of his albums.
I'll probably
Carrie, you remember him? Yay!
it'll probably ring a bell when I finally hear them.
Yeah, and if you listen to him, you're going to go, "Oh, that's how I sound."
Heather.
You what?
Heather. It's how you sound to him.
Yes.
No, I mean, I haven't heard the voice, so I can't say my opinion. But Dwayne, someone said Jen on IG said you were really speaking the truth. And she was just telling her husband that he should work on his mother wound and childhood trauma.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Because
you can repeat the two books you gave, I believe, were The Homecoming by Bradshaw.
Yeah.
And then you said
Complex PTSD.
Okay.
Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker.
By Pete what?
Walker.
And whoever just spoke or asked her to re-examine her shoulds, that her job is to accept her husband just the way he is, put opportunities for him to do things, but there's no should, that everybody will deal with their stuff when they're ready to deal with their stuff. It can't be forced. No one can force a lesson on someone else if they're not ready for it. And that's the challenge. So if she's shooting on her husband, she's probably shooting on herself even bigger.
Yeah, it has, you know, it comes, a person has to hit that wall themselves, you know.
Whatever that moment of readiness is, it's an individual, personal thing. And if you ask for assistance, it'll come up easier. But if you don't and you need to work through it, then the world's going to whomp you in the head.
Yeah.
I think
So
that's the power of intentions, is like, I want to move through this lesson. I want to grow from this. I want to move beyond. And then you're ready to really look at it. Someone was explaining it today too, is the deeper we feel is actually, how do I put this into the words from their words? The deeper you're willing to see and look at our stuff is actually the deeper you're allowing that source to be able to flow through you. If you're the lesson. So it's about clearing our channels, and anytime we have stuck, anytime we're in that complaint, that negative, it's that stuckness. So we get around other stuckness thinking, oh, this is normal. Let's complain. Let's be, oh, poor this sucks. Da, da, da. But when you get stuck in that, you're not really willing to move through it. That becomes your new norm. And so that's when you have a lot of friendship issues, or you don't hang around these people because all they do is negative chit chat. And it's like, ugh, you just feel the heaviness of that. So when we're willing to see our stuff, and that's the key, let's be willing to be done with this, that this is no longer acceptable in your life, and then you are determined to fix, change, release, move through.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's very good.
Well, that's the affirmation that I use. I allow myself to move through my lessons peacefully, joyfully, harmoniously, in divine perfect time. No rush, hurry up, no resistance, just let it flow easily, joyfully, harmoniously. The lessons don't have to be hard or painful or mean or bloody. They can be easy if we just allow it.
Right. And the more that you work through it, the easier it gets. You know, you can come to a roadblock or a struggle, something's coming up, but there's a sense of peace inside that, it's all going to take care of itself.
Yeah.
You don't find yourself getting yourself worked up, amped up, getting all the cortisol going in your brain. There's just a sense of peace to it.
And that's that trusting in the divine plan, the trusting it's all going to work out, trusting this is for my greatest good, and trusting that after I get through this, I'm going to really like who I am that much more. And so a lot of times when I hit those ugly places, it's like, oh, I can't wait to get through this because I'm going to be that much more evolved or aware or whatever. So yes, it's all how you approach it.
Yep. I've seen
gentle.
Oh, I'm sorry. I seen a picture, and it was a thing about a star, how it imploded on itself, and then when it finally completely collapsed on itself, it explodes into a supernova. And that's kind of how I look at healing work and shadow work, inner child work. It's just like you get to a point where everything just caves in, and then when you start healing through this, it's just that supernova just keeps growing and growing and growing and expanding. And I just seen that the other day, and I thought that was just really cool.
That sounds beautiful. Any other questions online, Stacy?
Yeah. I see Jennifer's had a little smile, so I was wondering if she was. I saw some thoughts happening in your mind.
Yeah, my question's a little bit off topic, so I don't know if anybody.
There's no topic.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, because prior to that, you were talking about a portal. So I'm just curious to what is the reason? Well, not reason. When the portal opens.
That was I'll take me all the time for that, but I just wanted to point out that was her doing.
What is it?
I'm assuming that was you.
No, my.
Oh, it's Jennifer's.
I don't know how to shut my phone's off, but it's coming through my computer. So
Wow.
the opening
Okay.
up. What are we supposed to do, or why is it opening up? I mean, it brings higher frequencies, or
We're going back to language, and I have said the example several times, but the word hot, we all know what hot is. And yet in the dictionary, there's 14 different definitions. We have the word run. We all know what run is. And yet in the dictionary, there's 29 different definitions. That every word is dependent upon the user to define. And I love those immortal words of Clinton. It depends on what is, when he was defending his behavior with Monica Lewinsky. So when people are talking about portals, I don't know what they mean. There's not a universal dictionary for light workers. For me, what I would call them is that from time to time, we get incredibly important blasts of energy. And we can get it coming to the earth, we can get it coming from the earth, so that it's stimulating some aspect of evolution. And it can come from all different sources, all different ways, but it's come to sort of stir up the planet and keep it moving, keep it evolving. We do have portals. Again, I don't like the term, but it's what comes out. Portals, which are like openings to other existences. when I was in Israel, it was the most horrendous, unpleasant energy I've experienced. And what I was told is there was an opening over the Middle East where a lot of UFOs could come in and out very easily. It was like a tunnel, like we have the tunnel that goes under the North Sea from Britain to Paris. You can drive under the ocean. It's an opening, especially designed for transportation. Well, the same kind of things happens in space. But because of these enters and exits of these craft, they kept everybody fighting so they would be distracted. They wouldn't notice these ships coming and going. And so that's one kind of portal. But when there's portals opening like that, I see them, experience them more as an energy infusion. There's a huge energy infusion coming in. There's a huge energy from the earth going out. There's all kinds of energy exchanges. So you kind of have to tap into the energy of it when people are talking about it and see how you define it. I don't always agree with how other people, quote unquote, define it.
So you don't want to talk about how you would interpret yesterday's?
I didn't interpret it as a mental process. I don't need to interpret it. All I do is experience it, and then what's my role? And as I said, yesterday my role was just to hold the space, just to sit and be in that energy, 100%, no distractions, no other kinds of things, just to be in the energy. How it's going to be used for the planet or for our myriad of people assisting the planet, I will be told if I need to know. And I don't, at one time I had 100 questions, 1,000 questions, and I was always asking what, how, why. And I don't need to do that now. I just trust that if I need to know something, I'll be told what it is. But it was powerful because I was sort of close to catatonic the entire day.
So Esme, there's your answer.
What?
I think that's best for me to not ask questions tonight. But
Why?
because I feel like you have an instant roar to me. So I feel like it's coming from somebody else, you'll be happy to go into it. But I feel if it's coming from me, you're just kind of like, well, that's a question from your head. So just feel like I have not a battle to win tonight. So I'm just going to repeat questions. If you have more, feel free to ask, but that's all.
Okay. Okay. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. Terry, you have questions, or you're smiling like there's something in your...
I would just agree with what Stacy was saying.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, go ahead, tell some more. Why would you agree with Stacy?
My experience of the exchange between you two, the words that you used were kind of harsh, in my opinion.
Well, my apologies. That's not my intention.
The honesty, Terry.
I think so.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Anybody else? With the election, the energy is not settled. It is still up in the air. It's not going to be settled quickly or easily or soon. We're going to be playing with this for quite a while to come yet. So it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. I do feel that this is all part of the unfolding. So people see the level of corruption, the level of manipulation, the level of lack of integrity that's been a part of elections for a long, long time. And none of this is new, but it's at a whole new level that it's happening. And I think lots of people are being shocked by that magnitude of it. But it's going to be an interesting journey. I said in January that I felt Trump is going to have a second term. I still feel that way. So we'll see what happens. Yes, Jennifer.
I'll add to that. I feel very confident in what's playing out right now. I've had this last 3 days, just this inner peace. It's probably the combination of what's happening and the portal. Just a very high vibrations right now, and just feeling really confident in what's playing out. And yeah, it's all stuff that needs to be corrected. It's all coming to the surface. And but I also feel like I live in my own, I'm not my own little world. Maybe I live in Trump land. And so when I go out to the market or somewhere and I hear people talking, and I'm just like, whoa, because it's a different reality for them. And so just the two worlds there.
Well, it goes back to what they perceive, their vibration impacts their reality. I mean, and we're seeing it so dramatically that what vibration you carry impacts your perception, impacts your reality. And until you're in a different place, that's how you see it. It's not going to change. No one can convince you. So not feeling the need to convince someone. What concerns me, and I keep sending lots and lots of love to it, is how we're moving into a chosen world of bias. You know, you feel differently than I do. Okay, no problem. In this world, we've had court cases. You cannot discriminate against someone because of their sexual orientation or their religion or their gender or, you know, all the other reasons. But now all of a sudden it's okay to discriminate because of someone's beliefs when it comes to politics. And I think this is a really serious matter that needs to examine. In fact, the book that you're reading is going to have a new chapter based on it that I just outlined last night. So there's going to be another chapter coming to it. But I see it all of a sudden, all this anti-discrimination stuff that we had in place to protect everyone from just free, you know, for free speech has now gone out the window because it's okay to discriminate based on belief systems. And I'm shocked that no one's going, no, we can't discriminate for any reason. But anyway, it's bringing lots of stuff out, lots of stuff.
Just so you know, I'm re-verbalizing this because we have some people who are hesitant to ask questions. So I just want to say that. Please ask questions. This is just a mother-daughter thing. So we love your questions. And I'm happy to ask on your behalf. Okay, I just wanted to verbalize that. And yes, what Anna that just came on, she did ask your question, so definitely check the replay out. Okay.
And if she has new questions, she can add those too. Dwayne, anything else you want to add or say?
I was thinking about like these portals. There's actually, from my experience, I don't know if they're portals or energy fields, but they're everywhere. And yeah. I'm fortunate enough to be in an area where there's a lot of wilderness and I do a lot of walks. And one of the things I like to do is barefoot ground. But I noticed walking through the woods like that, I'll hit spots where you can feel the temperature of the ground changes. You know, I've had experiences, and then when I hit spots like that, it's just like there's something that's telling me meditate, right here, and I've had some of the most wonderful experiences by that. I mean, you can be walking, because it's like the universe talks to you through a lot of different things. You can be in the woods and it's just as quiet as can be, no wind or nothing. And all of a sudden something will catch your attention, and it'll be one tree. The leaves will be shaking on it, like the wind is shaking, but there's no wind, and when I find spots like that, I just go and meditate. And I've had a lot of revelations about myself during those times. But anytime I feel energies, even when I'm feeling just ramped up, I try to meditate and go within to see, what's going on, whether I'm down or up, or, trying to keep that balance, because
And then
sometimes,
sorry.
sometimes I'll have it where the energy will hit me and it'll be like 2 or 3 days. I mean, it's just ramped up, you can feel it. I have a tree in my yard that I use a barefoot ground. I stand on its roots and put my hands on the tree and just sit there and just close my eyes and just let everything go. And there's been a lot of just things will just come in and make sense. It kind of like pieces things together, what's going on,
Well, and I think you're very blessed in that you follow your instincts, because that's really where all of us are headed. It's like, I'm in this space, I feel this, I want to do this, and you don't question it, you just do it. A lot of people would go into a lot of questions, and not trust the experience. So
I wasn't always like that. I was always questioning myself, second guessing, and
me too.
don't anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Terry. Jump in.
I'd raise my hand or something. When you mentioned that things can be quiet when you're out in nature and suddenly something draws your attention and you take that as a sign to meditate and get an answer. My question for you is just, did you have a question before you started that walk in nature and then it revealed itself? Or was it just you felt like you wanted to go out in nature and then it happened? Just curious.
Good question.
For me, no, it's part of my practice that I do now is I go for barefoot walks. It's my grounding, because your feet or even your hands, if you're gardening, it balances out the negative, positive ions in your body. It's just something I do that I've been doing for emotional health and physical health. But so normally it's usually just on a walk or whatever. Sometimes it'll be I'm like struggling with something. It'll be like with something coming up, worrying about something going to be taken care of, like, I gotta take care of this, let's say a bill, or I gotta get this thing fixed, and whatever. It kind of helps you. I don't know how you want to say it. It puts you at ease. You just get this feeling that it'll be taken care of, and it never fails. I was under a lot of stress this spring because they had all the hospitals closed, and I had a really bad hernia. It was huge. It was like the size of a cantaloupe, and I couldn't get in for surgery because they weren't letting anybody in. So I didn't get it taken care of till June. But in the meantime, it was getting to a point where I couldn't even work, and I was so frustrated, But the guy I worked for, it was just like he came up with a plan, and I didn't ask him, I just meditated on it, you know, and then it was just like all of a sudden then the hospital started opening up and I called, I got an appointment to get in, and it was all taken care of. Like, it happened so fast that I was back on my feet. And but usually it's just, you know, I'll be out in the woods and it's just, when that happens, I'll just ask, I'll look within and see what kind of things I'm going through at the moment, you know.
Mhm.
It's kind of hard to explain because it's such a cool, it's an experience. I mean, there's other things that happen too, you know, like, you know, you could be maybe see an animal that in out of place, you know, like being back in the woods, you know, and all of a sudden you see 3 bluebirds. This happened when I first started on this. 3 bluebirds landed in front of me on the ground in the middle of the woods. And if you know what bluebirds are, they're a field bird. They're not a deep forest bird. So it was just like, that was, to me, that was a divine intervention, or the universe telling me that everything's going to be okay. You know, I'm into this animal symbolism and stuff like this, and what do they mean? I mean, not every animal you see is sending you a message. It's just the ones that seem out of place.
Yeah, the fact that there were 3 of them too, that's yeah, that's interesting. I've had some experiences like that, and getting back to Heather, what you were saying about trust. Yeah, just putting that question out there and then kind of forgetting about it. But just knowing that somewhere, somehow it's going to come to you. You know, it's come to me out on a nature walk. It's come to me while I'm doing the dishes at night after dinner. Just when I let my mind relax.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can meditate anywhere. You know?
Mhm.
So I wrote in a question about from Instagram, which I think is kind of an interesting question. It sort of brings in nature as well. But have you ever encountered higher beings physically or in dreams with messages? Mine is like, yes.
Your answer asking me? Yeah, I have.
Esme has. So Esme is the one asking about that.
Who
I
is?
like the question.
Esme?
I like that question.
I know, it's a really good question. So I'm
When we get them in dreams, it's usually because there's less resistance to our conscious mind. If we are a lot of, oh my gosh, this can't be happening, what's going on? If we have a lot of that resistance, then they won't happen so much in our physical world, but it'll happen more in our dream state. But yeah, I've had them both ways.
what do you want to talk about some of the physical times that you've seen?
Well, one of them was in, I talked about Perfect Power, when they were adjusting my mind. You know, these beings showed up in front of me, and the one had this big cocoon and was just wrapping, like if you can imagine, you know, a caterpillar wrapping a cocoon with layers of silk, and it just kept wrapping it. Didn't say anything, just smiled at me. And then, you know, and I kept saying, you know, what, you know, and then they just went in and she just took my mind and put it inside the cocoon. It was the first time I experienced stillness. I had never had a still mind before. And so it was like instant, but it was a manifestation in front of me. And then I've had physical beings that we would say are physical, but were more spiritual. So they're physical beings. You'd say, like, you'd meet someone, but then they would not be there 5 minutes later, or they would say things that there's no way they would know, but it would be total fitting the puzzle of what you're going through at the time. So it can happen in lots of different ways. Where they're there to remind you of something, and then you turn around and they're not there anymore, but they were physical, as if you were in a grocery store with somebody.
And then aliens, do you see them much?
not in the physical. I see those in the spiritual. I see them in consciousness, but I'm not sleeping. I am aware, and I experience them in my consciousness as physical beings, if that makes sense. So that I could describe them in my consciousness, I can touch them, but they're not physically in front of me. And then I've mentioned that when I was taken on the dimensional trip, that I was told to get someone to spot my body. I laid on the couch. This person sat beside my body to make sure no one or nothing touched my body during this experience. And then literally I was met and was taken out of my body with a being who took me through the different dimensions so that I could experience them. Then my job is to come back and interpret that to language so I can describe to other people what the dimensions are. But it was not a physical experience, but it was experience in the middle of the afternoon in consciousness.
Did the beings shift as they change consciousness? Like, for example, when they say when you go out of sixth dimension, you're no longer in the physicality form?
After we started the trip, I didn't see them. It was then focusing on whatever they were showing me, whatever that was supposed to be done. It was like they were the voiceover. They met me, took me out, explained what was happening and why, and then it was on this little Mary junket. And I've had lots of those because it's very hard to describe a lot of things going on, and especially if someone else is putting that thought in your head to try and put it. So I'm taken on these little field trips to experience and then come back and explain it. In exploring, I describe what it's like to be dead. Well, I've never been dead in this lifetime, but they took me through the death experience so I could come back and describe different aspects of it. Usually I tell the story without a lot of, this is how I got the information, because people just think you're crazy. And as you know, I've never done drugs, not inhale, but it's very hard to say, and I was done this too, and I was done that too.
I've done plant medicine, and I am a fan that if it speaks to you, obviously it's very, very respectful, and the medicine's powerful. But I think for me, I've definitely, my whole life I've seen ghosts, mostly as a kid. Like, we even had a friend ghost that lived in the house. I would say as your adult life, I kind of shut it off more so. The first alien craft I've seen up close and personal was 12. I've had dreams going into crafts, but I also feel like they were supposed to be secret. Like, I felt like almost like I'll get in trouble if I talk about it. So those are sort of faint, but also memories. And also, when you're talking about you, see you mentioning like you want to experience other beings, just always ask the being if they come in the light. That's, to me, very important. And you'll feel it usually instantly. If they do not answer the question, then usually just send them away. Because when you're putting out word, I want to experience other beings, you're opening the energetic field for all other beings. And my suggestion is to only call in beings of love and light. It makes a big difference. And I think that's a huge point to make. That when you're ready, and I find the more I go in, the more I connect to my inner source and my inner godness, is the more tapped in and easy it is to see, feel, and experience them. And the more you get in your energetic field and feeling things too, you can feel presences, and then you can kind of tap into the field of energies and show. But we are, in my opinion, getting a lot closer also to the time where we will start seeing them a lot more. Especially as we go into 5D, because that the veil's thinning, the higher dimension, the higher the frequency, they can change their dimensionals to go in my opinion. They're a lot more crafty than we are, or aware of our craftiness. I think that answers the question. Is anybody else? I know it's 12 when I saw the craft, and there was 3 other people, and it was incredible, bright light. during a meteor shower, and it was just like, whoa, it was really cool. You
I
saw
can see.
you saw crafts before. Do you want to talk about being on a craft?
Well, first of all, I think anyone can see the craft, and the skies are full of them. It's just whether they want to be known or not. But as you said, it's very dangerous to say, I want to experience this, I want to experience that, because the ones that want to play with you are not necessarily those that are the highest and best good. So you always want to ask for protection and guidance and what's for your highest and best good and highest best good of all concerned, because just because someone can jump in your body doesn't mean you want them to. And so that's very important to always keep that protection up and around you. But we are moving into a time where there's going to be a lot more content. But just like the COVID virus, we're going to run the possibility of an alien invasion as another means to protect us, to be safe. So we can have some manipulation of the aliens in order to move us into fear and seek greater protection from our governing forces. So always ask to know truth. It's just so very, very important. But I think it goes back to the closer you are to live in your divine protection, your higher consciousness in your life, the more likely those things are to happen naturally. You don't have to force them. It'll just happen as you're ready for it, as it's needed for your growth, as it's needed for your awareness. So I'm not a big believer in pushing it. Yes, Dwayne.
I don't want to interrupt you, but you brought up a good point with this COVID, the fear, people are afraid. And Bruce Lipton put out a video, and when COVID first came out, I heard it somewhere, and then it just disappeared, that this is a virus of fear. And if you're afraid, it's going to get you. And then never heard nothing about it. And then as it went into this and these lockdowns and stuff, Bruce Lipton started talking about it. And the interesting thing is, with all this fear pushing on the media and stuff, what fear does is it triggers the adrenals, it gets the adrenaline going and pumps out that cortisol. And that's designed to, like, you run into a bear, and it's to give you that quick boost to run. But what happens is it does another thing. In order to do that, it has to make a choice. The body has to make a choice, and it shuts down the immune system. And so that overproduction, they keep pushing this fear out there, and people are afraid, and people are wearing masks, which keeps a visual in other people's eyes. It's to keep that fear going. And by doing that, you're shutting your immune system down, and your body can't fight this because the cortisol and the adrenaline is a short-term thing. But when, like, people who suffer from emotional abuse, domestic violence and stuff, they have really high levels of cortisol pumping in their system, and they're more likely to come down with autoimmune diseases, thyroid issues, fibromyalgia, and stuff like that. And it's because of that, the cortisol is overproduced in the body. So if they're talking about these people are testing positive more and more, it's because, I believe, and according to Lipton just put a video out about 2 weeks ago confirming this even more, explaining it, that when you're pumping all this fear out, it weakens the immune system. It's just that simple. And you're more susceptible to these diseases and germs and whatnot. So that's, they don't want people to come together. They don't want people to not be afraid, because they're pushing an agenda. They're basically using fear to herd people into a direction they want them to go.
And that's why we use love to counter it. Love
Right.
is the best antidote to fear. Fear and love cannot vibratorily exist in the same plane. So
Right.
the more
And
you
it's even
use love, the more you
Yep.
cannot be in fear.
right, because love and fear also works on the physical plane. It physically affects your body,
Mhm.
more than even, the emotional and the heart. But it, it I've been really diving into a lot of this stuff, like Joe Dispenza and stuff like that, on our thoughts. And
Well, for any of you that are interested in Mom's first book, it is completed on. I read all the chapters out loud on YouTube, Stacy Harder, and it's in there by chapters. So if you're curious, understand why you are a human light worker, where you came from, and why you're here on the planet. Many recall if you were chosen the story of Mother Earth and Earth-based volunteers. This is Mom's her memories, and it's very powerful. And it's wrote 30 years ago, but very much in today's thing.
And the more you can focus on your own path and your own place of empowerment now, the less you have to concern yourself with the COVID and the other things going on, because you'll know what's truth or not. You'll know when you're being manipulated. You'll know when, fear is being ignited within you. And fear is always used to control us. Never is someone putting you in fear for your highest good. It's always to control and manipulate. So you just don't let it happen to you.
right,
You're bigger than your fears.
it steals your energy.
That's it. But that's what, so I was in fear a lot, just something that I've been really working through. And even coming to peace with my inner masculine, which is feeling safe in the body, because I've experienced a lot of trauma in my past. And I started when I was a baby. I didn't ever know what feeling safe in the feminine body felt like until as of this year. And so through that experience, I have been in the last few months even too, like I remember hearing a sound outside, and normally I'd be super scared and get like freaked out, and adrenaline pumping. And I remember in that moment is like, I have a choice. I can react in fear, or I can just be like, hey, it was a sound outside and it's okay. Someone can make a sound outside. Nature can make a sound outside. The tree can drop a branch. The bird can fly around. That, like, so I kind of started just giving permission, like, oh yeah, the world can make sounds. Just because you're scared of sounds doesn't mean they're there to hurt you. And so I literally went through this whole questioning process in that presence. I'm like, no, I'm going to choose to feel safe. And it was really powerful to have that consciousness. So I do recommend, if you find yourself, again, ask for protection. Guidance is no truth. But if you find yourself being pulled or feeling that fear, I turned on the news and literally felt like a part of this, like, oh, it was like my soul being twisted. It was a really bizarre feeling. And I instantly was like, okay, I like Tucker, but I can't even listen to any of this right now. And it was just like, oof, and I had to shut it down. So trust your body, trust your feelings. And then when you have a situation, if you are in fear, check it. Do I want to stay in fear? Do I want to choose fear? Do I want to choose what? And then choose in those moments. So yes. Your favorite students on Instagram, just so you know.
Who's Candy. Candy is a person who smiles and is always very, very physically involved in the conversation. So as a teacher, it was always the kind of student you wanted, because you got feedback from what you were doing. So tell her to get her ass on Zoom. Doesn't do me any good when she's on Instagram.
Saying hi.
Huh?
Saying hi. No, totally. And the thing is, yeah, she was responding to, yes. So I hear you, and that's the thing. I totally understand. Yes. Okay. She said, sorry, work is nuts. Yes, you can jump on now. She's asking if she can jump on. So yes.
Always.
Yeah.
All right. What we're going to do now is tune in to individuals, if you choose to, and just ask a question that you would like to ask. And we will just tune into your energy, which is how I connect with people. I energetically jump into your energetic thread, your core essence, and that is for me where your Akashic records are. It's everything about you, everything that you've created and coming to you in the near future. Always everything is able to be changed, but nonetheless you have put in your thought pattern that's bringing certain things to you. So if you'd like to ask a question, please feel free to indicate and I will answer accordingly. I'll do my best, most loving, accurate job. So anybody have a question? And Christina, I'm so glad you're online. I miss you when you're not here. Going once?
I'll ask a
I
question.
do have one.
Okay.
I've been real edgy lately and I have no idea why. I don't know if it's this energy from yesterday but I've just been real edgy, almost crabby, nervous type edgy.
Yeah, I can feel it. Thank you very much. Well, that's the downside of feeling the energy. It's like, oh shit.
Hey, I gotta share.
You're also developing a lot more intuitive skills. You're trusting your intuition, and what you're picking up on is the anticipatory collective experiences of the planet on a much bigger level, specifically this country and our elections and all that stuff. And so in tapping into that intuitively, you're reacting to it physiologically. And that's that edgy, irritable, like if this country was a human being, you'd be grabbing them by the collar and saying, what the shit are you doing? Why are you doing this?
You're right.
There's an impatience that you don't, you as we both know, you're very intolerant. You have a strong sense of right and wrong. You don't see a lot of gray. It's this or it's this. And so for you to look at what's going on, you don't understand how people can get carried away to these extremes. And so you're feeling that energy, and that's what's causing your irritation, because you just don't understand why the heck they're doing this. So I would suggest have some imaginary chill pills around and take them, and then remember that those immortal words of Jesus, according to one of the Gospels, forgive them for they know not what they do. Humanity's working out at their level.
I have
And you're
said
not
that
at that
on
level.
more than one occasion recently.
Well, that serves you well. And it's going back to what Dwayne was talking about with the compassion. The less compassion you feel for the stupidness that they're doing, the more edgy and irritable you're going to become. So you just have to keep dosing yourself with compassion. This is the game that humanity has come to play. We have to play it out in order to bring it to a close. That Robin Williams movie Junkie or whatever that movie was. Jumunga. Oh, Candace is here. What was it?
Jumanji.
Yeah, where it's all kinds of craziness in the middle, but they have to play it out to the end. If they don't get to the end, they live in the craziness. And that's sort of what we're doing, getting chills as I'm saying this. So go back and rent that movie and watch it. Whichever episode you watch, I think there's 2 or 3 now versions of it. But, it's a crazy game that they manifest, and it's bizarre. But when it gets to the end, it goes to normal. And that's what we're doing on the planet. We've got to get to normal. And for you, you're already living normal, and you don't understand why they're living out the crazies, but you just have to trust. This is what Earth has to move through.
Okay,
Hi, Candace.
thank you.
So, but again, those, just imagine even get some Tic Tacs and label them your chill pills. So energetically, when you start feeling that edginess, just take one of your Tic Tacs as a chill pill so that you can intentionally bring your energy back to calm.
Okay.
You're bigger than that emotion. All right. And who else
Thanks.
started? You're welcome. Thank you for asking. Welcome, Candace. I expect you to be very active because I gave you that big build up. So, anybody else? Okay, Christina.
Hi,
Hi, welcome, welcome.
thank you. Yesterday, this man came into my shop, and I don't know if I'm imagining it. Well, silly, but I don't know if I don't know who he was. Like if he was even human. He was just. It was.
And why does it make a difference?
Just because I'm curious if my instincts were right.
Okay, you understand that's the mind. The
Right.
mind wants to know. The heart trusts. The mind wants to know. The heart trusts. So, did you get a name of him?
No.
Okay, then I can't tap into his energy. In order to tap into his energy, I have to have you thinking about him and then have a name or something to pull in. And then I could give you how the energy feels to me. But just to have something in the air, I don't have that ability at this moment.
No problem.
So,
he just came in, bought something, and then like literally walked through my shop and out the back door. And I was like, what was that? It wasn't who was that? It wasn't who was it? It was what was that? It was just bizarre.
Well, it could easily have been something there to awaken, to trigger something, to energetic. We talked about Alicia's chill pills that changes her just by the imaginary tic tac. Well, the same thing. People can come into our lives energetically to impact us energetically without recognizing who they are and why they are and whatnot. So it could easily have been something there to awaken you. But just trust that it did what it needed to do, and then ask yourself, how was I impacted by this presence? What was it that was stimulated or awakened? Because there's always a purpose involved if it's an off-planet connection.
Yes, it was just so odd. And my little cousin is working with me, and she was there. And I looked at her. I was like, "Did you feel that?" She was like, "Yeah." And I was like, and she was like, "I don't think he was human." I was like, "Exactly." That was so bizarre. She's super lit too.
Then just trust that he wasn't human.
Right.
And then next time say, by the way, what's your name?
So, yeah. Okay.
But either take his picture or get his name. Either one will let me connect to the energy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It was bizarre.
Go ahead.
We have a new thing. Anyone who comes to the shop gets her picture taken.
Imagine. I know. That's funny. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take your advice.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay. This is Jennifer, and my question is, do my guides have any advice of where I should be focusing, what I should be focusing on?
Well, first of all, you should be focusing on talking to your guides directly. You are expecting the process to be lightning bolts from heaven. And it's not. It's not lightning bolts from heaven. It's a very natural inner whisper. So begin to, and you've got a journal, hopefully. I've told you a million times to get one, but just ask yourself questions and then feel the answer. And as you feel the answer, that energy will be familiar. Your guides have always spoken directly to you. The trouble is humanity doesn't trust it. They don't hear it. When Dwayne talks about going out in the woods and then just trusting in what he's feeling and connecting and communing, that's what connecting with your guides are. And you have a zillion different spiritual helpers that help in different ways, but you have to listen to them. And they're not on a megaphone. It's a very soft, gentle whisper. And the quieter you get and the more you listen, the more you're going to get that. So this week, I would like you every day to get your little journal out and ask 3 questions. Space out the questions so that you say, and what the questions are irrelevant. It's just learning how to ask and listen. But one of the ones that I used a lot, because as I was beginning the practice, is what's my lesson for the day? What's my lesson for the day? And then tell me about love. And every day I would get a different lesson on love. Not that I fully understood it, but it always felt so good to get it. It's like, okay, tell me about love. Okay, tell me about love. It's like the dogs that roll over in their back so their tummy gets rubbed. It's like, tell me about love. And then, but just ask a question and listen. And then write down whatever you're feeling. It's not going to be hardcore. It's not going to be megaphone, Trump rally kind of thing. It's a gentle whisper. It's what I call the wee small voice. And you have to be still and you have to be receptive and be open, and you'll hear it yourself. And that's what your guides want you to know. They're talking to you. You're just not paying attention because you expect it to be something hard, something difficult, something complicated, something, mystical. And it's who we are. You cannot be alive on this planet without being divinely connected. Not everybody listens, and that's the difference.
Can I add a
Okay.
question to that?
Yeah.
Does being baptized affect any of that? Just curious.
Depends on if you think it does. Remember, your thoughts create your reality. So if you
Right.
feel like you can't get to heaven unless you're baptized, that's your reality. If you think you got to wear garlic, that's your reality. So what are your beliefs around it? And then act accordingly.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Okay. The conscious part of you is saying that, but there might be a deeper, darker internal part of you that thinks something different because you asked the question. So there's a
Right.
part of you that's playing with the answer and you're not quite sure. So
I'm
be
not
very
sure.
open.
Right. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So you just have to get to that place of trust, but your beliefs create your reality.
By the way, there was someone else that said that's me too. And one of the things that I found that really helps me is, like Mom said, the first thing you get is, for me, I would explain it as very faint, very gentle, your first reaction. And then that's why it's really important to understand your mind and hear your mind and get to know what the difference, even energetically, from the responses. Because then your mind wants to kind of be like, oh, don't listen to that. Like, why would you need, like, you could be driving, like, I need to turn right and go to this grocery store, but it's not your normal grocery store. But you're like, wait, why would I want to go to that grocery store? But the more you start listening to those little things of, oh, I should turn right and go into this grocery store, that's, to me, those little voices are your teams, are your spirit. And again, I feel that there's different. And the more you can kind of tap into it, you'll start to feel differences. Now, as Mom talks about, everything is an energy. So we use words to describe something that is so much more beyond than a word. So sometimes people will get those instincts just to do something. Some people will hear thoughts. Some people will see things. I have a friend that will ask questions, and she literally will get the billboard on the truck driving by. She will get the sign on the street. And so her signs literally come up physically. Christina, who's on here a lot, you see her. She will get signs literally reading across of her. Like, should I go, to, let's just say, New York City or LA, like, just to put an example out there. And then it'll be like, come to LA, like, literally, like, so clear and day. So again, play with it. Ask your guides to be more clear. And the more you go inward and start connecting and having those intentions to hear, to me, the easier it is to be like, oh, that's what this is. Oh, that's what here is. And you'll start to literally feel it. Some people will feel sensations in their head. Some people, everybody, I think, connects differently. But I've definitely heard some people talk about when they're feeling this way, like this little weird something. I don't even know how to describe it because I don't feel it. I was just listening to them. They always knew that was their guide saying, hey, stop, come listen to us. We got something to tell you. And so always when she was feel real dizzy and lightheaded. And so she finally realized every time she got dizzy and lightheaded, it's like, oh, they're really trying to get a hold of me. Something's coming in. So just start to pay attention, because remember, this is that tool that's gonna ascend, and each of us, all those connections are in, we can always feel those as well. So to me, it's a two-step process. You're gonna feel it, and then you'll just have that knowing, whether it's through words, whether it's through, you know what I mean? Just kind of be open. But I sometimes am shocked looking back of how much I've connected without even the awareness, because I was a big person in my head that was expecting how mom does everything, expecting it to be those lightning bolts from heaven. I expected to be like, not in my thoughts or not in my sound that's in my head, but it really is little. So you just go and trust. And I think the imagination is that key too. As that meditative state, the imagination to me can be the visual experiences, the guided things, and through creativity and imagination to me is that source energy moving through you. So for example, like when I'm writing my book, I feel more connected. I feel more guidance. I feel more, right? Because I'm in my inspiredness and I've set the intentions and I've done that. So again, it's a practice, I would say. And I would say once you're in it, you're going to be shocked that you've actually always been connected. It's just not those consciousness, whoa, that I was thinking it was, but it kind of actually is. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you both. Helped a lot.
Okay.
I'm gonna do my homework.
There. So my other friend says I've noticed in music, and my sister does that a lot.
It's not homework. That implies that it's work. It isn't homework. You don't think about breathing, you just do it. And it's that same natural process. You cannot be alive without being in connection. You can't be alive if you don't breathe. So just let it be as natural as breathing. Easy breezy. I allow myself to move through my lessons easily, joyfully, peacefully, in divine perfect time.
Send that to me. I'll make you a meme.
Okay. Candace, got a question?
Hi, miss you guys.
I know. I hate when you're out there in the ethers and not playing here.
Well, yeah, I definitely am out in the ethers with you guys playing, but yeah, I know. But hello.
When I was in high school, I was in a psychology class, and the teacher put me out in the hallway when I wasn't smiling. He said, I don't want to look at your face if you're not smiling. I depend on your smiles. And for the first time, when I'm looking at your very engaged process in class, it's like, I get it now. I get it. So, but it's nice to have you here.
That's good.
Okay.
The only thing I thought about asking, okay, I'll just say, can you tap into my past lives or my last past life?
For what purpose? I mean,
for fun, just to see.
Well,
just
first of all, the answer is yes, I can. But you know, again, we're looking at eons of time and all kinds of experiences. What are you looking for? Well, it doesn't. You know, all those past lives mean shit. It's what are you doing with this one? We can look at the lifetime that has the biggest impact on what's going on in your life right now. But truly, you could have been anyone, and it doesn't matter. It's what are you doing with this lifetime? Those lifetimes were to teach, experience, grow, learn for this lifetime. This is the one that counts. This is the one that changes the planet.
I agree, and I like how you phrased it.
Yeah. You know what I'm seeing, and I'm getting chills as I'm even thinking about saying it. So that's always a confirmation. But you were a court jester. You were one of the people who had the ear of the king, and you would be all kinds of things. And you learned that if you were in a good mood, that you were animated, that you were humorous, that you could get your way easier, faster, with less resistance. And so you learned to play that role. In this lifetime, it's very easy for you to move into that role again, getting chills head to toe. But now you also must bring in the serious side. If you're always in that court gesture mindset, it's harder for people to take you seriously for your intellect, for your wisdom, for your ability. And it's about balance, knowing when this role will be more effective and when this role will be more effective. But it's much more difficult for you to own your intellect, own your wisdom, own your knowledge, own your credibility. Does that make sense? It's much
Yes.
easier for you to play in this role. And there's nothing wrong with this role. It's gotten you a lot of kudos, but now you have to develop this as well. It's about balance.
Mhm.
But for the record, you were a very good court gesture.
That's when I probably knew Jennifer.
I don't know. Did you get chills when I was saying that?
Yeah, and it's so funny because I was just telling my mom yesterday that, you know, you have to talk to certain people in a certain way that they can hear you. You're saying the same thing, but just in a different way, not in a manipulated way, but, you know, just listen and feel the guide. Anyways, it totally resonated with me. And I am always very giggly, so it made perfect sense.
Just start owning your intelligence. That's hard for you to do. It's hard for
Yeah.
you to be fully present in your credibility, but that's a very important thing for you to do. What do you do in your life?
I'm
What's
an
your job?
insurance broker. For, you know, small employer groups.
Okay. First of all, that's what you do to make money. You're going to be doing other things on the side that's going to put you in a whole different audience. And again, the credibility, the influence is going to be much, much, much geared up. And so beginning to own, and the word superiority comes out, but that's not what I mean. It's not you're better than anybody else, but you're just as good as everyone else. And
Mhm.
that's the part you have a hard time owning. So
Yeah, I'm getting tears.
wrench,
Yeah.
Wrench it up.
Confirmation. Yes, it's true. It's true. I feel it coming in that I could say, I'm smart, I'm intelligent. I wasn't able to say that before.
That's why you didn't want to start your book yet. You're not ready to own that wisdom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's time. Consider this a spiritual kick in the ass.
Good, because this is the only kick in the booty I want. Okay?
Well,
I'm trying
consider
to
it done. Etherically a kick. And own your greatness. Own your greatness.
Candace, just so you know, I had that same thing. I literally had to show up and love myself in a way deeper way and believe in myself in a way that I have been for years. I've been writing a book. I mean, I've got chapter in a book published, but at the same time, like my own book where people are going to really want to listen to me. Like, I mean, I don't have a doctorate, I don't have a master's, I just have a normal college degree. Like, why me? So I literally had to step up and know that it's beyond me and that I get tears. Like, this isn't for me. I mean, it is partially for me just to feel proud in something, but we're here to share the light. And however we can get it across, that's one way. We can shed one person's life through one book, like, whoo, you know, like that's our gift. And it's an eternal gift. It's not just in this moment. It's not just like, I have so many of you beautiful, incredible people in my life because I started doing these things, you know, like, and it's such a gift. Like I'm so honored and so loved. And it's like, see, it does matter. We really do need this. It's a connection. And so as that's being said, Esme, for the first time, who listens to us all the time here, is now live with us in our group. So she is another IG thing. So I love it.
Oh, we got a new person. I didn't even see her come in.
She's been on time for long time. She's like OG. She's really good at always being at my lives. So,
Hello. Thank you, Candace, for the question and the opportunity to lecture you and kick you in the booty.
and
Dwayne,
just so you know, Jen was going to ask the same question. I think it would be fun. I'm not going to, but to ask Mom. We got Anna that came on from things too. That's 2 of you all came over. Look at that. I love that. I love that. It makes me so happy. Anywho, she was going to ask the same question. It'd be fun at one time though to see like what our connections were in past lives. That would be fun. But anyways, welcome. I love that you came on.
That would be fun. Thank you. Oh, you guys are all so bright. I love it. Oh, okay.
we're all in our places with bright, shining faces. Okay, Dwayne, do you have a question for me? This is
No,
our
I
playtime.
I was just thinking about this past life stuff, as I've had a couple of instances that really stand out. And just a little background: my great grandma, my mom's grandma, is a full-blooded Ojibwa from Wisconsin, and I've never been out west. And this summer, I had the opportunity to drive and ride along to go pick up some old truck out in Montana. And when I got out to Montana, I felt like I was there before. I never was out there before in my life. And when I was coming to an area, I just envisioned, I could just feel like I was leaving a battle. And it was like 5 miles up the road, there's a sign of Little Big. And it was, I mean, even now it gives me chills and chokes me up. And that whole time, and then we went up into Billings, and it just felt so surreal. And of course, I had to take my shoes off. I did some barefoot grounding while I was out there, but it was just, I felt like I was there before. And another time, I've had a reoccurring dream. I haven't had it in a while, but I had a dream of escaping underneath a fence in the concentration camps. And it was really weird. I woke up like just terrified. But so I don't know much about past life stuff or experiences or nothing, but there's something to them, because they feel so real. These two experiences I've had.
And they are very real. And as we heal our issues with judgment, we have access to more and more of our past lives. If you can't handle that you screwed up last week, you're not going to be able to handle that you screwed up for a whole lifetime. And so you have to get beyond your judgment issues before you really have access to all of that information. But they've all been experiences to help us learn and grow and be ready for this lifetime. This is the lifetime of importance. And so trusting in it. It sounds like you got the lessons, whether you have the memories or not. But that's very important. And when you are in those places and you feel those things, it's a great idea to just intentionally send love into the land and heal that area. That's why you're retreading that land, is so that you can come back and release some of that pain. Because, as painful it was for the participants, it was even more painful for the earth itself. And we're being sent on scavenger hunts around the planet to balance the energy, heal those spaces, relieve that pain.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I burn sage. I love sage, but there was a sage that I burned. I got it. It was I think it was spirit sage. It's a Native American. It's got silver sage in it and whatnot. And the first time I burned it, I just felt really sad. I could feel a darkness to it. And every time I burned it, so I quit burning and burning that type, that stuff. And what's really funny is, not funny, haha, but it was funny that when I went out there, I picked some sage and I brought a bunch of it back. But when we got into Billings and I stepped out of the truck, that feeling, I could smell it in the air, and what I smelled in that sage that gave me that feeling back a few months prior to it, you know. And after going out there and I had picked that sage, I can burn that sage now and I don't get that energy. I don't get that heaviness from it. It's gone. It's like something got healed up there.
Something got released, yeah. And I would recommend, again, you didn't ask me the questions, but let me give you the answer anyway. You carry a lot of sadness. You carry a lot of responsibility. You carry a lot of I'm going to say responsibility on your shoulders. You feel the heaviness of the earth. And so as you begin to release that within you, that sadness, that sense of, it was my job to do whatever, the more you relieve that for the earth itself. You've been in leadership a lot and you haven't always liked the outcome. Not that it was your fault, but it was lives lost. If you could imagine being in battle and you're the commander and people lost their lives, you carry it personally as your own debt. And it's time to release that. So using a Native American tradition, go out and dig a hole, take and release all of that energy into the earth and plant a tree or plant something on top of it, and let it be used for fertilizer for future good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to do that.
Okay. Anybody else? We've got some new people online. Yay. So Esmeralda, would you like to ask a question, or since you're here and I can see your face? I can only do this if you're on Zoom because I can't energetically pick it up through so many. I mean, I could, but it would take a lot more work and time, and I don't want to do it. So if you want to get your question, you have to be online. That's my rule.
I'm happy to be here, but I'm embarrassed. I'm not usually online. Do you have any messages for me or something you can tell me?
Yeah, why are you embarrassed? I mean, first of all, that is an issue.
I'm turning red. I can feel it.
Well, that you need to look at. What is it that you are afraid of being present for, standing up, being recognized, being acknowledged? And that's an issue that you can spend this week looking at and moving on, because there's something there to look at for you within yourself.
I don't know.
I'm tapping into your energy now to see if there's anything else that stands out. You're very self-aware, and that's can be a good thing. It can also be a drawback. I would recommend you to look at life as if you're the host and everybody is your guest. And your job is to help other people feel comfortable, not about you being comfortable. When you're so concerned about your own, what are people thinking of me? What's going on? You tend to forget that the world's out there and you're a light worker. You're here to help, support, nurture, grow. Do you have children?
No.
Okay. That part of life is about looking outward. When I was in high school, when I was in college, I was very self-conscious about speaking in public. Couldn't do it. If I had to give a speech in class, I would be in tears. I chose my classes, so I never had to talk in front of class. When I started teaching, I was appalled at what I saw happening to kids in the name of education. And I kept thinking, someone's got to say something. Somebody's got to do something. But nobody was saying anything. No one's doing anything. And so I decided that, oh, hell, I got to do it. I got to do it myself. And so I wouldn't take a class because I knew they'd make you stand up in class and talks, and I didn't want to do that. So I started reading books and watching videos and various things to learn how to force myself to talk. And so lo and behold, I started talking and was very self-conscious. And then one day I realized, what the heck? I'm the least important person in this room. It's not about me. It's about the message and how people are receiving it. And in that flash, I lost every inhibition that I had. And from that moment on, it wasn't about me at all. It's still not about me. And I would say the same thing. You have a very important message to share. And the more you can recognize it's about the message and how it's received, it's not about you, the more you'll be able to deliver that message comfortably. I don't know if you do much influence peddling, whether it's speaking or blogging or podcasting. Now there's a zillion different ways of doing it, but you have very important messages to share. Does that make sense?
Yes. When I was in high school, I was very embarrassed to even go up in front of the class. It was something that, excuse me, that was very, it still is uncomfortable, but now once I get to know people, I'm very open and honest with people, but it just takes time for me to feel comfortable. But
Well,
I'll keep that in mind.
just remember, it's about the message you carry, and you carry a message. And when you, like me, it was like, oh, someone's going to do something. And there was nobody doing it, that forced me into stepping out. And now I can't imagine my life if I hadn't done that. And so just be open to that and recognize it's the message, not the messenger.
Thank you. I always ask
welcome.
questions through Stacy because I like asking, but now I'll do it on here.
Hey, there we go. It's
Like,
much
pick me,
easier to
pick
go
me.
direct. Yes, have your question. We don't do a spirit sprinkle every time because of time, but have your questions ready so when it is time, we can add it.
But they almost are every time. And Candace is also
Thank you.
Candace is what? Candace is what?
Shine Disco on IG. So we know who each other's are, like when because we're on live together a lot. So it's nice to be like, oh, now I know your face. It's fun. That's how I like Jessica JB and stuff, like just through Instagram. Then we hang out and we do things together, and it's just like, okay, like that's how I have a lot of incredible friends through IG now. Christina.
Anybody else have anything they want to ask? Or yes, Terry.
Real quick, so the conversation earlier gave me a memory that I'd like to ask about. Years
Sure.
ago, there was a movie called The Bridges of Madison County. Maybe you and I are the only ones who remember it, but
I never saw it. I was never drawn to it, but I know that I remember the movie, but I just never saw it.
okay.
I mean,
Well, Madison County was in Iowa, and it was about these covered bridges. And the state of Iowa put together a tour about these covered bridges since the movie was so popular. And my mother wanted to go, and so she and I took a trip there. And as we reached each bridge, we would walk across and then walk back. There was one that when I approached it, I just knew I should not enter that bridge. There was only the one, and I have no idea why I felt that way. And so I'm just wondering if you're able to pick up on any reason why it was that bridge, or why the feeling was so strong.
again, do you have a picture of that bridge? If you can send it to me, because then I can tap up the energy of the bridge and see what's either compatible or not compatible. But I'd say congratulations for following your heart. A lot of people wouldn't have. They would have said, "Oh, this is silly," and done it anyway. So I'd say start by saying you're wise to follow that guidance, whether it made sense to you or not. And it feels kind of like it was a test for you that point in time. If you can find a picture of it, and send it to me, I'll read the energy of the bridge and let you know. But it's like her man that walked in the shop without something to connect with the energy of that. I can't.
Okay. It's not that important. I don't remember which one it was. So like I said, we were just talking about things that happened and that occurred to me. So I thought I'd ask, but thank you.
And
Sorry.
Jen and Anna have also come over from the live.
Yay!
No.
They're only halfway here because I don't see their face, but hi, Jen and Anna.
So this is the portion. If you want to ask, feel free.
I see. There we go. I see Anna now. Yay! You have a question for me, Anna? You're on mute.
Wait,
You gotta unmute yourself.
you're the one that sent the questions in, correct?
What?
I believe.
Yes, that was me.
Yeah, she's the one that messaged you the questions.
Oh, okay. You missed the answers because we did those earlier.
Yeah,
I
I
well-
know. I have to rewatch it.
Yes, but it's there.
That's
We-
okay.
I read your email and I took and answered the questions. So do you have a question now? And I close my eyes just so I can tap into the energy with more clarity.
And just so you know, I know you've seen it on here, but just a quick thing. Mom kind of taps into your energetic Akashic thing. So whatever your question is, obviously for your question. So she can kind of tap into about everything really. So have fun asking a question. But she's very honest, so it might not be the answer you want to hear. Just know it'll be honest.
Okay, well, she's gone and she's muted herself, so I assume that there's no question there.
I don't know what happened to my. Oh,
you
there we go. It went
you're
in and
back.
out. It's my internet. It's my internet. I missed what she said because it cut off. My internet's not very good here.
Do you have a question? Do you have a question? That's the only thing that's important. Do you have a
I
question?
don't.
Okay.
I don't. Not right now.
Okay.
I'm kind of like the other lady that was on earlier. She said she's embarrassed, and I'm kind of shy too. So.
Do you have like a general?
It gets easier the more that you're here with your face.
It's
It becomes like
Yeah,
old friends that get together weekly for their tea. You know,
yes.
so
Right.
it's easier. Okay.
Okay. Well, maybe
Anything-
next time I'll ask.
Okay, have your question ready just in case. And it goes a
Yeah.
lot by time. I do my best to keep us under 2.5 hours.
Jen, do you have a question? And you're welcome to unmute yourself as well. And Anna, in the next few minutes, if you think of a question, feel free. We've had past life questions. I'm not sure which point you jumped on.
No questions. I'm just here just to learn.
Thank you, Jen. I would love to see your face though.
Okay.
It makes me feel like you're really a person. Okay, well, it's 8:28. So does anybody have any last minute questions or thoughts or?
I think Alicia, she was looking like she had a question.
Alicia, do you have a question?
You're good.
No, she's
Okay,
good. I'm reading lips now. No, you're good. See, it was a psychic
No
pickup.
questions.
Okay. Well, let me just share a little bit about this week's energy because it's going to be intense. We're going to see a lot more with the campaign election stuff. We're going to see a lot more peaks and valleys. My advice is just turn off the media completely. Don't watch it. I haven't watched the news in 5 years. I watch what I feel like watching based on who sends me things, and on YouTube, I don't watch any media at all. I haven't had, as I said, I haven't had TV in 5 years. But when you're watching anything, just feel how it feels. If it's causing you to get out of balance, out of sorts, nippy, irritable, it doesn't serve you. It's like toxic substance, turn it off. Stacy's dog last week ate some chocolate and it got jittery and its heart was palpitating and it was doing all kinds of things because the toxicity of the chocolate was affecting its body. The same thing happens with you when you get engaged in all this drama that's unfolding. The toxicity of it is affecting your body. So when you feel yourself moving into that heart palpitations, irritation, you want to argue with the TV or whatever, just take a breath and send love. Everything is going according to plan. We didn't get a copy of the plan, so I don't know exactly what the plan is, but I trust the plan. If you read my book, Many Were Called, I say in there at least 100 times, trust the divine plan. When I wrote it, I didn't know what I was talking about based on today's going on, but it is going according to plan. All of this stuff that's coming out is causing people to ask questions, and that's the first step of waking up. It's just asking the questions. And as I say, for all of you, ask to know truth, and you will know what truth is. It's going to be weeks before this thing is settled, if then. And there's a lot of possibilities. We're sort of in the middle of this hub with options going in every direction. And so don't try and get ahead of it. Don't try and figure it out. Just trust. Say your prayers for divine will to be done and for each of you to play your part in this divine drama that's unfolding, and know that it's all going to be wonderful. In the end, Earth moves into peace and love and harmony, and all the conflict that we're seeing now exaggerated is going to be gone. I was having a conversation with someone who's also a beta reader for my new book. And I said, it's like a boil. We have to lance the boil and get all the uckies out in order for it to heal. None of these judgments, none of these biases, none of this hate and all the drama that's unfolding is new. It's just been buried in politically correct behavior. Nobody's being politically correct now. They're all just being in your face. Oh, hi, Jen. And they're showing their true colors, which is the first step of being able to heal it. You have to own where you are in order to change where you are. And so it's all going perfectly. And each one of you, every decision you make, every moment that you live, every breath that you take, every step that you make is determining the collective consciousness on the planet. So the more you stay in that place of serenity and peace and joy, the more you manifest that on the planet. And whatever way it goes, it may have to get worse before it gets better, in which case we'll deal. Just be at peace with the process and trust your heart. If you're feeling the need to do something, if you're feeling the need to go walk in the woods barefoot, better do it soon, because Wisconsin starts getting pretty cold these days. But just follow that impulse. No one can begin to tell us what we need to do to make this transition. It's never been done on the planet before. But I do know without a doubt, it's following your heart. Whatever your heart tells you to do, whatever you're guided to do from here, not here. The mind is the trickster. The mind wants to understand and manipulate and label and acknowledge and grade and judge. Love the mind, let it go. It's the heart. What are you feeling the need to do? And if you're not sure, ask yourself, what do you feel is your divine right action? And then trust that. And it's all going to be perfect. It's all going to be perfect.
And I will suggest too, just because if you, more than likely, you're like me, because as an empath, we feel so much for the collective, and not everybody does, but many people do. So what I've been finding very thick in this week, as a lot of stuff comes up, and I feel like it's a reminder to not judge any of these feelings, just to be present with it. And I suggest putting on a song and like dancing, moving, and just transforming it. Like you're a washing machine taking these dirty clothes and coming out clean. And sometimes the process, we kind of, takes a minute to get all that mud out, but it will come out. It will be clean. We are the light. We are the love. But to intentionally take that time and go in and bring in the love. Feel, transform, alchemize, and know that you choose everything. You choose how you react. If people are upsetting you, then is it teaching you something? Or for me, it's been muting people. If I find people are very judgmental and very rude and they're not in accepting mode, perfect. I still love them as a person, but I don't need to be reminded of them in my feeds. So that's my personal thing that I found that's really good, because it's allowing me to have more access to what I want to put into my body. But remember, if you're going into left or right, it's not about left. It's not about right. We're clearing, to me, that duality. If we go back to that unity, choose what's the best and highest good of all concerned. And really, that struggle is that 3D, right? That's that left, that's the right, it's the fear, it's the love, it's the hate, it's all these things go back and forth. And so as you feel those, then just start to witness them, and then literally intentionally step above that and love it, if that makes sense. That's my process.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to post my email there. As we started the conversation way back 2.5 hours ago, my newest book is coming out. It's on judgment. If you feel like you are interested in the topic, I have a few beta readers. There's room for a few more. And so if you feel like engaging in my book right now, I'll be happy to send you a copy of my book electronically so that you can read it. The only catch is that you have to give me your feedback by the 20th of the month. And
so real quick, we explain what a beta reader is.
Beta reader is a volunteer who reads the book and just provides feedback. And then if you're kind enough, when the book comes out, to post an Amazon review, it helps to give other people confidence in reading it. Jennifer is a beta reader. And so you want to make a comment about the book. In fact, she read one word and she emailed me. She says, I'm in tears already. So it was kind of fun. So you want to do a quick.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started to read it and it's really hard to put down. You just want to keep reading it because it's so good. And I'm learning so much at the same time. It's just great. It's easy to read because you're just so interested in it, and the flow is great. I'm really enjoying it.
Every religion teaches us we should not judge, but nobody tells us how not to judge or what judgment looks like. And so this book is all about judgment. And then you become empowered because you go, oh my gosh, that's a judgment. Oh my gosh, that's a judgment. Oh my gosh, that's a judgment. And so you can get kind of overwhelmed that it's pervasive. We live in a world that we have been fed a diet of judgment. And because of toxicity, it's like a cigarette addiction. You get addicted to judgment. It changes your chemistry. And so this book helps you move through and break your addiction to judgments. So if you want to be a beta reader, I put my email, finally figured out how to do it, put my email address in there. Just email me and I'll send you a copy of the book. But I have to have the feedback back by November 20th in order to have it included in my information. And this is really how the books get improved. If you have questions about content, if you have any kind of editorial comment, you're welcome to do that too, or editing comment is appreciated. So if you have time and you're so interested, and I've got quite a few books that are coming out. So if you don't get this one, there's going to be the next one. But anyway.
And also, same thing on my thing, because this is new and I'm in the process of doing that. I will also need a few volunteers in the beta. Obviously, it's not on judgment.
Well, don't talk about it now. Wait till you get your book done, and then you can put out the call, okay? We want you to hold the energy sacred. Okay? So I'm going to do our official close, and then we'll wrap it up for the evening. Again, you have my email, so you're welcome to ask me short questions. If it's long, I'll just answer at the next meeting. Thank you, Dwayne, for joining us tonight. Thank you, Jen and Esmeralda and Candace for coming back. And then all of our regulars, we really appreciate you coming and joining me. It's a lot more fun than talking to myself. So anybody have any closing questions before I read my official wrap it up?
Because she's on here and she asked about the question, does anybody else have any stories around the alien stuff that they want to add real quick?
So no.
I put that in the comments earlier too. I'd love to hear if anybody else has that.
Okay, thank you. All right. And each week your questions guide our content. Sometimes I'm spiritually given things that I am to include. Otherwise we just go with questions or the life happenings which is going on like crazy. So with this as our closing intention, let us close in the beauty of peace and understanding. Help us stay open to the gentle whispers of the universe and her teachings. Let love keep us warm, safe, and confident. Assist us to remember the gentle way, the compassionate path, the empowered highway of courage, and our commitment to our road of service. Remind us to stay open to the blessings and joy of our sacred journey and all those in the non-physical who assist us in every way. Until next time, I remain your committed friend and send you loads of love, light, and laughter until next we meet. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to.
All right, I'm going to end. Thank you very much for joining us, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you. We love you. Together, kings and queens. If you do want to reach out, I'm StacyHarder.com and Heather is HeatherHarder.com.
Not softer, but harder.
That's right. You can find us there, and you can also find my new YouTube channel. I think I got 12 subscribers. I'm kind of excited. I'd love to have your support and share. Thank you for being on this planet. Thank you for being a team. I love to be able to connect with each and every one of you, and it makes the world feel better knowing that we're not in this alone. We're in this, and we're gonna do this. So I love you all. Thank you so much.